start cooking here. Okay, did everybody get enough to eat?
Yes, sir.
And what recipes you all after tonight?
Beans.
And potatoes.
I converted you, didn't I? Okay. Well, awesome. Well, folks, like I told a young lady earlier, I don't have a cookbook and I don't have recipe cards, but I will take a little time and we'll just tell you how we cook things over an open fire. But before we get into that, just by a quick show of hands, how many of y'all have cast iron that you use at home or when you go camping? Oh, wow, we got a lot of experience. So everybody knows there is a right and a wrong way to take care of your cast iron, right? Most people that fall in love with cooking with cast iron, they buy a new pot, they get all sorts of creative, and they go home and they make and bake and do all this fancy stuff, but they don't take care of their cast iron correctly. Folks, my secret sauce to what we cook truly is the cast iron themselves. So let me give you a little tutorial and we'll up your game a little bit. So what happens is a lot of people make fancy stuff, but they don't take care of their pans right. They take it home and they fill it full of Dawn dish detergent or any kind of hard chemicals, and next thing you know, it pulls that seasoning out. Folks, it takes me many years to get that seasoning, and as you can see there, if you take care of them right, they just shine up like a piece of glass. Okay, so all we do here at the cast iron or at the chuck wagon is we just pour in there a little bit of hot water and we attack them with a chore boy, which is an abrasive little hand scrubbing, and a putty knife. All right, little hot water, break everything loose, rinse it out, wipe it out with our favorite kind of paper towels, and then the next step is your cast iron's got to go back over on the fire. When that fire hits that cast iron, folks, it's going to cause that to expand, and anything that's stuck to the side of that pan is going to fall off, going right into the side of the fire, making cleanup super easy. The next thing, we have to season that every time when we're done. So how we season that is once that gets hot enough, we're going to go ahead and fold up a paper towel and coat it with our favorite kind of grease. All we use is lard here at the chuck wagon, just like any traditional chuck wagon cook. That's really all they had out on the trail for fat. Rub that into that paper towel and scrub that into that pan while that's hot. What's going to happen, while that pan's hot on the inside, make sure you flip it over and do the outside of the pot. Okay, if stuff is starting to stick and burn on your cast iron, it's because you're missing that grease layer. And if you rub that into that pan while it's nice and hot, that thing's going to get smooth as glass and it will last a lifetime. All right, making that non-stick cooking surface, like I said. And if you take care of them correctly, you can pass them on down to your grandkids. How old is some of my cast iron? Well, a lot of them have a lot of age, but none of them have any more age than this pot over here. It's over 100 years old, folks, and we use it here every day. So with that in mind, we're going to get right into that bean recipe because that's what we're going to start with. Okay, once again, feel free to record me and take notes, and please stop and ask questions along the way because I've done this for every night we've been here for the last 19 years, and things kind of get repetitious. So, nice, well-seasoned Dutch oven on a very hot wood fire. Okay, while that's heating up, I'm going to pull me out a really nice cutting board and start cutting up my bacon. What kind of bacon we use here at the chuck wagon is a product called ends and pieces. A lot of fat, a lot of good flavor in that. Cube that up into bite-sized chunks and completely cover the bottom of your Dutch oven. While that's cooking down, go ahead and go back to your cutting board and cut up some really good quality steaks, something like a sirloin or ribeye. All right, cube that up, fat and all, and throw it right in alongside that bacon. Here's what's going to happen is that pork fat are going to come together with that beef fat, and that steak and bacon is going to start to cook, and it's going to make a nice greasy, meaty mess. That is our base to our beans. We must have that. All right, next up, we got to add our vegetables. Red, green, orange, yellow bell peppers, couple of sweet onions. Cube them up into bite-sized chunks, and go ahead and cook that right alongside that bacon and that steak and coat it good with that grease. Now keep stirring that until them vegetables become pork tender, okay? Now, from people that come from all over the world, we found out they love color in their food, and this is how we give it to them. Plus, we get loads and loads of flavor from them veggies. All right, once them vegetables become pork tender, now we're ready for our seasoning. And here's a question for you all. Folks, were my beans too spicy? They're full of flavor, right?
Yeah.
I make this recipe every night to taste, and this is how I start out. Of course, we got to season everything to your liking, and we're going to start out with just salt and coarse ground black pepper. Season that to how you like it. Give it a stir and taste it. Next element goes in here is our chili powder. This is what gives it that dark red color. It also gives it that heat. Now, if you're a family or an individual likes things nice and spicy, sprinkle in a lot of chili powder. Give it a good taste, and when that heat kind of hits you in the back of that throat, you're right on track. If you feel like you got a little too far carried away with the heat, that's okay, because the brown sugar that you're going to add next is going to offset all of that heat. All right, sprinkle in a little brown sugar, let it cook a little bit, and then taste it. When that bite of that heat goes away, you're right on track. Okay, the next most important seasoning goes in my beans, folks. It's just lots of bourbon whiskey. Okay, I got somebody's attention, didn't I? Right? We're gonna pull the cork out of that bottle and give that bean pot a nice big healthy drink, because we need a little bit of liquid in there. And besides, some of that might need to go into the cook too. That's what it takes to make good beans. Folks, please don't hesitate cooking with bourbon, because here's what's gonna happen. The alcohol is immediately gonna burn off, but it's going to bring all them flavors together, giving it that nice smoky chipotle flavor that you all enjoy. Now keep stirring that now until it starts to boil. Once it starts to boil, our last element goes in there is just Bush's Original Baked Beans. All right, fill that bean pot or Dutch oven the rest of the way full, and continuously stir that now until that comes to a roiling boil. Once it comes to a roiling boil, we're going to put our lid on our Dutch oven and pull that Dutch oven off the fire and set it off on the ground. Now, if you're a novice with cooking with Dutch oven, folks, here's what's going to happen. That lid is nice and hot, and it's also reset. The next step is we're going to go back to that cook fire and grab a big old scoop shovel full of coals. We're going to completely cover them coals on the top of that lid, and by doing that, it's going to cause that to bake from the top down. Okay, and we're going to add the weight of them coals, which causes that to cook under pressure. Now, about once every 10 minutes, we're going to pull that lid without dropping all those coals in that lid, or in that pot, all right, and we're going to give it a stir, okay, because it will burn from the top down, because that heat is real close to the top. And put the lid back on between stirs. All right, repeat that same process for the next every 10 minutes for the next hour. And then at that hour's mark, grab a big serving spoon and enjoy. Everybody like their beans?
Loved them.
Okay, any other recipes I can get you folks?
Potatoes?
The potato recipe? All right, potato recipe. This is a little more complicated than beans. All right, we're going to start out with the same cut of bacon, ends and pieces. Throw that in the bottom of your Dutch oven and put it on a very hot fire. While that's cooking, we're going to slice up our favorite kind of potatoes. Slice them all consistently the same thickness, and when that bacon is nice and crispy, we're going to take that big full bowl of sliced potatoes and dump that right in on top of all that bacon and all that grease. All right, we're going to put in a couple of sweet onions for flavor, season that with your coarse ground black pepper and salt. Take a big spatula, combine all that grease and bacon, and put your lid back on and on fry. All right, it's going to be right on that direct heat, right over the top of that fire. Once every few minutes, pull that lid off, take that big flat spatula, scrape the sides, scrape the bottoms, fold to combine, and repeat the process until them potatoes are fork tender. Now, the most common mistake people make when they try to fry these potatoes in a Dutch oven like this is, one, they don't have a well-seasoned Dutch oven, two, they don't have enough bacon or bacon grease, and three, they don't cook it hot enough. Or, folks, from our point of view, I can put 25 pounds of potatoes inside this pot right here. And when that fire is nice and hot and that bacon is getting nice crispy with all the grease in the bottom of that pan, from the time I pour that 25 pounds of potatoes on top of it and give it a stir, I can cook those potatoes in about 8 to 10 minutes. Very hot, very fast, and they really kind of turned out a little something different, didn't they? Okay, how did we do on your steaks? Did we get them all cooked right?
Yeah.
All right, question. Could you all cut them with that plastic fork and knife, okay? All right, and how many of you all jumped them into the bean juice to see how that turned out? Some of you got bean juice on your face. You eat like I do. Okay, from the bottom of our heart, from everybody here at the Chuck Wagon, we want to say thank you for spending a beautiful South Dakota evening with us. Now, the very nicest thing that each one of you could do is to tell a complete stranger, family member, or friend all about what we're doing because it is so unique. However, keep an eye on your email. Tomorrow, you're going to get a very nice thank you from the stables. Folks, if you give that a read, down on the bottom of that is a little link. It's going to take you over to Google. Please give us a review and rate us on how everything went. Now, you all have a great ride getting back up to the lodge, the campground, or the trunk of the car, where some of you might be staying tonight. Have a great vacation while you're in the Black Hills. And folks, please come see us again sometime. Thank you all very, very much.